In a studio that's in a basement comes the epic story of how two friends changed the future of the movie podcast game forever. The reviews are in. Boys Life magazine gives the High Sci podcast 4.5 acorns. The Daily Bugle says, these guys are super legit. And Pope Francis declares the podcast as life-affirming. From the kid who tried to get smart with David Spade and got fucking old.
You're still out. You're still bad.
And the guy who can name all four Baldwin brothers.
Alec, William, Daniel, and the baby boy, Stephen.
Live from the studio of his parents' basement. The Have You Seen It podcast.
Let me fix my collar here, get a little official.
Get my tie straight.
Mr. Krause, I got to bring it up on this podcast right now. It was one of the reviews. I absolutely love that T-shirt.
Oh,
Such
yeah.
a cool shirt, man. I remember.
Can I show the world? Can I show the world?
Yeah, a little earlier today. Here, I'll make sure the camera's on you right now.
Show them up.
Look
Show
at that.
it.
Let's
Look
zoom
at it.
right in on that. There it is.
Dr.
There it is,
Ian.
folks.
Ian Malcolm.
Yeah. Jurassic Park.
He saved a lot.
Classic.
He saved a lot of people that
He did.
night.
He did.
And
he was a brave
He
man.
sacrificed himself.
He did. He literally
on the
pulled up
T-Rex.
the flare. Yeah, I mean, that's the perfect picture for it.
It really is.
It
The
is.
man's a hero.
He is. He's a goddamn American
And
treasure.
could not be played by a better man.
No. Definitely
Honestly.
not. No.
Just a man that we don't. Jeff Goldblum. Do we deserve him? No.
I don't think the world deserves a man
That,
as amazing as
that.
that.
Pure
That
of heart.
pure, yeah,
He just wants to make people happy.
he does.
He
That's his
just
end goal.
want-
That's all he wants.
But yeah, so I thought I gotta give him some credit. Give him the
do.
shout out he
we
deserves.
do love
right?
some Jeff.
And he's the only one that's continually still in all the fucking Jurassic Parks.
He is, even though they've really gone off the rails.
Everyone
as
else
of
is
recent.
given up completely. But Jeff Goldblum is such a nice guy that he really just can't say no to you.
And he's still out there saying dinosaurs are not a good idea.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if I was on that island too, I think I'd be right there next to him
I think
saying,
so. I've
he's
seen
the-
a lot of people get devoured by these dinosaurs.
And he's
It's
the only
really
one
not
that
a great
really got
idea.
it firsthand. I mean, no one else really ever gets it firsthand. But yeah, so shout out. That was a good find.
Yep.
It
I just had to
was.
bring that up on the podcast.
We ever do
I always
another?
appreciate a good
We ever do
t-shirt.
another Jurassic Park or anything Jeff Goldblum related, which I'm sure we will because the
Inevitably.
guy's a national treasure.
We'll probably end up reviewing his D23 Disney show that's literally just Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, I think it's like Jeffing around with
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum or like just life and times of Jeff Goldblum. But yeah, he'll be back.
He will.
I'll be wearing this shirt often too because I just found it. And it's a new find for me, and I
is.
gotta show everyone who I'm representing.
But we're not here to talk about Jeff Goldblum as much as we love him.
Usually we are.
Normally we are. Normally
90% of this
we talk about two
podcast we
things:
do, yeah.
Star Wars and Jeff Goldblum.
And Jeff Goldblum,
But
absolutely.
other than that, we're actually here to talk about Ready or Not.
Yes, the new black comedy horror, I would guess, that I am very excited to talk about with you.
As
Mason.
am I.
When
I'm
I saw this,
super excited.
right when I saw this movie, I was like, I cannot wait to get down into that dungeon, get this all fired up, and get your opinion on this because I'm just gonna say it. I fucking loved it.
Oh, dude. I mean, right out of the day, I was so
loved
impressed
it,
with this
yeah.
film. I mean, all around, this was awesome.
This is arguably the most fun you're gonna have at a theater this year.
For sure.
At least for now, this is the most fun. It was it felt like a ride. It was awesome, man. Everything landed for me. The horror elements landed for me. The comedy landed for me constantly. There wasn't really a comedy part where I was like, that didn't really work. But yeah, just the whole environment too with the background. Well, we'll get into it, but it was one of my favorite of the year so far. I can say that.
Undoubtedly. Yeah.
Probably gonna be my top 10 at the end of the year.
I could almost see this as a playwright too. I think it would be like a fun theater thing to do.
Could be.
This sort of
It'd be dark.
like murder mystery. Yeah, dark comedy for sure. I mean, you'd have to condense it quite a bit on stage, but
Absolutely, yeah.
But that is kind of what this movie gave me too. I kind of felt like this movie. It talks about games and board games and stuff. It gave me the Clue feeling a little bit.
It did somewhat.
You know,
Well, them
kinda
being in that big old house and That house was just as much as a character as a lot of these people. That house was perfect for this. That big, giant, creepy ass mansion that we just assume all rich people have.
Yeah,
it's really they're not.
Reason,
They're living in
and it's
apartments.
never well lit.
No,
the
never.
mansions are never well lit. I mean,
Never.
they spend so much money on architect that they end up not even putting light bulbs in.
There's so many light bulbs you have to do that you just have to go candle with it.
You can't do that.
Let me read off the synopsis for people that did not, because this is a smaller film.
The budget for this was
Did you see it?
insane.
Because
I could not believe it.
We always hound over the budget.
And how much money people.
$6 million.
That's it.
That's it. That is honestly. I mean, we talk about when like, oh, you only made that for $20 million. You're a
pretty
fucking
good.
god. Yeah, are you kidding me? $6 million
Under 10.
And for how many?
Well under 10.
And for how many
too.
people were in this movie as well? Great actors.
Yes.
The scenes were.
Man.
I mean, the art and everything.
Samara Weaving stole the show in this film. I
Yeah.
think this is going to be her breakout role, man. I
She's
really
gonna be
believe
big.
that. She is incredible. And we've actually reviewed 2 of the movies on this podcast that she was also in. The Babysitter and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Yeah, literally.
She played the ditzy girlfriend.
She hasn't
the young
been.
girl.
She hasn't been in very many movies. I think
No.
those are like the 2 of the 3 she's done. That
When she didn't have
we're really
super
following
big
her
role
career.
in Ebbing.
She
Outside
didn't
Ebbing,
have
Missouri.
any, not a very big role, but she did have a big role in Babysitter, which Babysitter is a lot like this movie in terms of the dark comedy and whatnot. Which, but she's really becoming kind of a horror icon.
She is.
After this, I love her. I'm just
So
gonna
do
say
I.
it. I
Yeah.
love it.
She's a badass too, and I like how they didn't go over the top in this movie, where it's like all of a sudden she just turns into this crazy maniac where she is able to kill people.
Yes.
It wasn't that at all, and that's it. Really, this film, even though it was so absurd and it was a dark comedy, it really stayed grounded the entire time.
It was, and that's something I wanted to bring up too. Was the writing was so good. I mean, with how with the writing of the characters and how fleshed out they all felt like, and how real that they all felt like, and they just felt like rich assholes. Which is what I assume a lot of rich people are, and they're always trying to sacrifice poor people.
Of course.
Well,
They're
let me
always trying
read
to
off.
sacrifice to Satan. You wonder how they make all their money.
Let me read off the storyline for you for people that have not seen it.
Yes.
Ready or Not follows a young bride, Samara Weaving, as she joins her new husband, rich, eccentric family, in a time-honored tradition that turns into a lethal game with everyone fighting for survival.
Mm.
You know, we think rich people, we think, oh, they got money, they don't got problems.
No.
They got the devil at their fucking back door trying to kill their whole goddamn family.
It's that'll really make you be tenacious and go after things.
Well,
if the devil's on your heels.
That's rich people problems.
You don't
I never have to
become rich
worry
overnight
about
for no
yeah.
reason.
The devil doesn't want to make a deal with me because I have nothing to offer him. Unfortunately.
He's like, you're worthless.
Yeah. Only rich people can already make a deal with rich people. And that's an aspect of this movie I liked because it kind of showed how many more opportunities rich people have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even with like it being the devil. Like their family was already rich when the devil approached them because, I mean, poor people, no one's making a deal with the devil when you're
No.
poor.
I mean, there's nothing to lose. Of course you're going to make a deal with the devil if
has
you're
no
poor.
stake in that. Chances are he's going to get your soul anymore.
sure.
Yes. But
The devil went down to Georgia. He
Absolutely.
learned his lesson down there.
he got his ass kicked,
Yeah,
and
he
that's the last time we ever talked to a poor person.
He goes, this guy, so
These guys are
poor,
too
all he did was
talented.
just practice on his violin all day.
That's
so.
the thing about rich people is they don't do anything, nothing. So they have no real
They have
skills.
no real
so
talents.
they have to make. So they have to make a deal with the devil, or eventually you're gonna lose that money. But yeah, we can get in. I love that whole background of the mystery of their great grandfather meeting this stranger on a riverboat.
Yeah.
And what was his name?
Oh, I do. Mr. Bale?
Mr. LaBelle.
LaBelle.
Mr.
Yeah,
LaBelle, and that's the guy that they made all their games about. But yeah, I love the whole background to it. It was dark, it was fun, it was something that I wanted to explore, but I thought they gave enough for it to be interesting.
Oh, for sure.
And
they
they gave
gave enough
enough
context to make you kind of put the pieces together on yourself and do it in a way that was
Yeah.
easy enough for everyone.
And they gave just little enough to where you're thinking, oh, is this all bullshit? Right?
The whole movie,
The
you were
whole
thinking
thing,
that.
your whole
Yeah.
thing, you're like, okay, they met. And it's very, very, I mean, I don't want to say I know what rich people are doing, but I think it's a common thing for rich people from once they get something going, they stick with that. They don't, because they're rich, they don't want to risk anything. So they'll stick with those old rituals just to keep them rich because
Right.
they don't, I mean, it's been working so far.
Yeah, don't stop what's working
If
for
it ain't
you,
broke,
right? Yeah, if it
brother.
ain't broke, don't fix it.
But yeah, I love the whole background and everything was really, it was just fun. You know, it was fun to explore. And then in the background, you see, like throughout the house, you'll see game boards of like Mr. LaBelle's Monopoly or whatever their version of, or Mr. LaBelle's Game of Chance. And they really used his likeness. I mean, but yeah, I thought it was really interesting. Well, let's get into the plot of the thick of it. It's the wealthy Ladomus family. It's the Ladomus gaming empire. They made their money on just board games, and now they do the more advanced where the dad talks about how he owned 4 professional sports teams.
A lot, yes. They're extremely wealthy, extremely
so you can see,
successful.
but it's all about games.
Yeah,
that's the main thing, and it was the main thing even when their great grandpa met with Mr. LaBelle, whatever his name is, was he was playing a game because their grandpa was he sold playing cards in the Civil War.
Yes, and he was also an avid hunter as well.
Yeah, but he wasn't making very much money from making playing cards.
No.
But yeah, so we get the Ladomus family, and they're hosting a wedding for their son, and their son who married an outsider, wasn't rich or anyone.
Grace,
yeah. Absolutely, played by Samara, and
it's the Ladomus Dominion, not dynasty.
Yeah, Dominion. Well, they kind of joke about it, but really it is a Dominion because they are sacrificing people, so that makes it a Dominion. Yeah,
it's closer to a cult.
But I loved that intro of it's like 20 years back. We get the flashback. Because
immediately they show
it set it up to be very scary. Where it's like from the trailers you can see it was going to be a horror kind of real comedy, but it looked like from the trailer that was relying more on the comedy aspect. But it sets it up pretty freaky. Where we get that setup of the 2 kids running around. We later find out that it's their sons, but they're running around in their big house, and other people are chasing someone. It looks like a guy in a tux with a mask, and we go to find out that it's one of the family's husbands. We don't know why yet, but they're chasing him, and they eventually catch up to him. And the wife, she's not too happy. She's crying. It's very sad. And they're all wearing masks.
Yes.
And I love the joke that they did where it's like...
It was an 80s thing.
It was the 80s with all the slashers and everything, and everyone doing cocaine, I'm guessing. So everyone was like, that's hilarious that the dad was like, everyone else is doing it. It'll be fun. I like that they tried to make a game out of it.
Yeah, like it was almost normal to this family. Like they all knew what was going to take place, what was going to happen. And you see it generationally later on in the movie too.
And it was the kind of thing where like it's a gaming empire, but gaming is somehow like in their blood. Like we get that aspect of the dad, every time he had to do something, he flipped a coin. Like he's making
heads or tails for feet or the head when they were dragging bodies off.
That's how much it is in part of them. It's just games.
It's
everything's a
in
game.
Who they are.
Everything is a game, and it's who they are so much. Where it's a tradition where once a new person comes in the family, during that wedding night, they got to play a game, and that's where we get into. Grace marries what's the guy's name? He's played by Mark O'Brien.
Oh, Mark
O'Brien, a great actor.
Alex.
So Grace is marrying Alex, and we get the flashback to modern days. Alex, he's giving her the one more, the warning. He's in, look, you got to bounce. If you're getting an out on your wedding day, take it. Something is up.
Every single time you should take that opportunity and leave.
It may not be your husband looking out for you. It may be your husband looking out for him. And he's like, if you want to leave...
You're more than welcome to.
I'm not real down.
It is our wedding day. But...
I got the car running. Man, if you want to go.
I got to say, the wedding day, it was a beautiful wedding, but Grandma was not happy. I mean, she looked like an absolute
aunt.
Bitch. Oh, aunt, yes.
And I swear it was the same lady. I swear it was the same old lady. I mean, I don't think it is, but she looked like the same old lady from Scary Stories. The little lady he finds in the... I swear
maybe it could have been.
I don't know.
It definitely could have been.
You think she's just being typecasted now as old creepy lady?
That's what she's casted as with everything?
No, but that was something that was really funny is when she looked at the window and everyone was sitting down, or they were doing the pictures, and that old lady is just stone-faced, not laughing or anything. She's just frightening looking. And she's not even putting her arms down to her side. She's just putting right into the front. It makes it look very creepy.
Yes.
But, yeah, she's not real happy about it. The aunt,
she's very, very pissed.
And we get a little sense of who the family is, and it's a very typical, what we think, rich family. So Alex's brother, he's an alcoholic. He's kind of like the wild card, the black sheep of the family. Drunk all the time. He's got some problems we see, obviously. And he's married to a lady that's Just a real
gold
ice
digger.
queen.
Yeah, she does not give a fuck. She was right on, and we find that out early on in the film too. That when she was told about the game, she was all in immediately.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't even have a second
Because
thought.
and again, that's where the good writing is. Is later on we get even that small side character. We get like a glimpse of what her life was, and we kind of end up, at least me, like feeling bad because she talks about how she came from nothing, and at this point would obviously kill someone to
Oh yeah, she's all in. She never
Yeah.
wants to go back to that
No.
life of poverty.
No.
You know,
and
and she found it out and she took it.
oh
you know?
fuck yeah. But yeah, and we get the daughter who didn't even come to the wedding because she was late.
She was late.
We
yeah,
find out
Emily.
she's all coked up.
She's a drug addict.
Yeah.
A severe drug addict.
Again,
And her husband's an oblivious dipshit.
oh yeah, again, typical rich family, right? Yeah. The only one that stood out is Alex, who Grace is marrying.
yeah.
He was obviously
Well, because he was the black sheep, but he was the smartest one of the family. Too,
and he was
at
probably
same
the most
time.
kind also. Where the rest of them all have some things going on.
Some
They don't
fucked
really
up
care
thing,
about anyone else but them. But
Even Daniel. I mean, but we find out that Daniel was a kind soul.
yeah, but Daniel's the one I was talking about. His brother, that's an alcoholic. I mean, he's a kind
Well, yeah,
soul,
he's got
but he's
problems
an alcoholic
for sure. Yeah.
and he's an asshole. I mean, he's an asshole, but he's a guy that knows what his family has done. And I would be a coke addict and an alcoholic also if I was probably knowing my family had to do a very odd tradition every 30
More than
years.
odd. It's pretty evil, honestly.
It's a little
Kill
wacky.
people. Yeah,
It's
it's a little.
But you
got to
assume every family's got their traditions, right?
They do.
You got to respect that.
I'm just so shocked where they put all the bodies too later on. I mean, it just seems counterintuitive. Why not just
Yeah, well,
bury them?
exactly. But
yeah,
we'll get into that because that also gives a little layer. Again, this movie had so many different where you could keep going back, and it seemed like the writing was so good where it's like everything was fleshed out. This history of everything that they did, because yeah, we'll talk about it. They throw all the bodies in a goat pit. And then you're thinking, who the fuck has a goat pit? Oh, it's people that sacrifices goats. So they're not only doing this tradition,
They're sacrificing
they're
goats
full
as
on
well.
Satanist.
Yes, they
yeah,
are.
they're full on like we
Well, they
don't
have
get it till
pentagrams and
it's
stuff.
not revealed
It's-
to the very end when they're all like, because it's really
Hail
teased.
Satan at the
Because they
end.
almost say it
Yeah,
one
they
time
almost say it,
before.
Yeah, and then they puke because they were poisoned. But yeah,
But we'll get it because Mr. LaBelle is never told to be the actual devil. He's just a guy. And I don't know. Back in the day, the devils were always trying to make deals on
I know, man.
gamble.
They're
and
so much
both.
prevalent. I've never ran into a devil.
They were fucking everywhere, man. If you're down and out, go to the corner, talk to Satan. He'll give you something.
I know. I remember it used to be playing Highway to Hell on my guitar at 9, 10, just waiting for the devil to strike me a deal, a music deal.
And I'd always
Never
be
came
playing on
around.
my fiddle, waiting for him to take one more chance at me.
It's like,
never
come on,
came.
Trying to win that gold fiddle, were you?
Apparently, he only gave away one. There's only one gold fiddle, and old Johnny still has that. He's to lug that thing around for the rest of his life.
I can't
Heavy
blame him there.
gold.
He beat the devil.
Heavy
the
gold
devil's
fiddle,
very
though.
musically gifted, so I've heard.
I assume he's good at everything. But yeah, so they eventually get married, and Grace was like, after the warning, she's like, no, we're fucking doing this. And it's obviously Grace's idea that she was the one that wanted to get married.
And wanting to get married at their mansion.
At their house,
Because
yeah.
it's tradition that they do that in the family.
Yeah, and then we find out you kind of have to get married at the house.
Yeah, there's no
bad or bad thing,
negotiations there.
But yeah, and he just couldn't convince her. He was doing, at this part, he was doing everything he could. But we also get a sense that Alex is a good guy, right?
Yes.
He's not, and a real good guy. Not
And he
like he
doesn't like
wasn't
his-
playing
yeah.
a character. It
No.
seemed like he was a legit good guy. But yeah, and they get married finally, and it's an awkward family. I think there's like 8 people at the wedding. And did no one of Grace's family come to the wedding? Oh, they
don't think
did.
so.
Well, that's something I just connected. Is later on they talk about that she was in a
Oh, yeah, she was a foster
home.
home. Yeah, that's right. Which makes sense.
Yeah, and that led me to believe that I was thinking almost that she was gonna end up being like a gold digger, like she was doing this just to get the money.
Well, and that's what the family kept reiterating
Yeah.
over and over, that she was a gold digger.
but really, she just wanted
She's just trying to find love, man.
she
That's
wanted her
all.
family. And she
Can
got,
you blame her?
And she got the worst one.
She got the absolute worst family.
It's the worst family you can have, most likely.
Not the greatest in-laws.
No, absolutely not. But
And don't you think that would have been a red flag to begin with, to meet Aunt, Aunt whatever she was, and to have her just be as Aunt Helen, and to be as just just bitchy as she was, that's got to be a red flag.
I know, she was very odd. Again, the way she was sitting, with,
I know,
like, putting her
like
hands on her
hunched
leg.
over a little bit.
You don't
I'm like,
realize
what
how
the
odd it
hell?
is for someone to put their hands anywhere but their sides when they're singing. But putting them on your front legs, it's very bizarre to me.
And I like how everyone stood after the wedding, and then she looked up, like everyone's standing, and she's like,
someone had to,
guess
like,
I'll
nut-
stand
someone had
up.
to, like,
Yeah,
nudge her, like, get up, you
Get
old
up, you
bitch. We have to at least make this part look
I
good.
know. Like, we're gonna kill her in 12 hours. Take it easy. You know what's about to take place.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And see, that night, it's established that Grace was a foster child, so I guess that probably was a pretty big part of
Yeah,
it.
that is a big part.
But that's literally the only thing we get of her background.
Yes.
Is that she was a foster child.
Yeah.
Nothing else. We get more of the family's background, but we know nothing else, which is another thing that kind of backed up my theory was like, we're getting so little about her. Is she just like a con artist where she just made all this stuff up just to get in the family? But didn't end up being the case.
No. But I think with again, this movie was 95 minutes. They probably had to condense a lot of the story.
Oh, yeah.
We got
they
just
had 6
enough information where, like, I was okay with that. Like, not at one point was I, that's all the information we're gonna get. I was like, oh, she was part of a foster home.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it.
Yeah.
And it kind of
that's all I
moved the
needed,
story
really.
along.
No, that's
Yeah.
all I needed. I didn't need to know full-fledged
full
background for her.
background.
Because we learned enough about her during the movie and who the kind of character she
Totally.
is. It's the other kind of characters that you don't learn from that you kind of need
A little
background
background.
read to you, kind of really, because we knew what kind of she ended up being a hard ass and a badass.
And I love how early on in the very opening act, in the first act, when they are finally, they get married and they all sit around the table, the father explains the whole thing to her.
Oh yeah,
Which was really awesome for the audience too, because it didn't feel like it was forced. It felt very natural, because that is something you would do. You would explain it to the bride or to the groom, whoever the new person in the family was.
And the family, all the family characters were great. The dad and mom were amazing. The dad especially, and the mom. The mom was great too.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that amazed me with a budget of $6 million is how you got such great everything, great actors, and the atmosphere. Like you said, eventually they get married, and Alex ends up telling Grace that they got to go play a game, and she's kind of weirded out by this. Like at midnight. Aren't you just looking
she's
to
like, "What?"
fuck on your...
Well, we got to talk about that too, when they are kind of, getting a little heated, and then old Aunt Helen just
I forgot she was
sits
just
there in the
sitting there.
shadows. She's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and it wasn't even the door. It was a secret passage.
It was a secret passage. Like, dude, Aunt Helen, can you get any more fucking creepy?
I know, that was
Like, come
funny.
on, a little privacy.
Again, the comedy worked very
did.
well because they worked out with... they played off very well of the creepy factor of someone going into a house that they've never been to. They don't know any of these people or anything. It's just freaky. It's weird. Just going into a guest house is kind of weird, but going into a house that's this big and it has secret corridors and passages.
And there are
Aunt Helen,
servants' passages.
Aunt Helen's using those little tunnels running around everywhere, watching people fuck.
Where the hell is she?
Yeah.
I would be scared all the time walking around that thing. You never know who's watching.
No, it was very...
With all those security cameras
very-
and stuff,
Yeah,
too.
I know.
But see, again, good writing. Because I did think about that initially. I'm like, okay, these people are billionaires and they don't have cameras anywhere on this property. Bullshit. And
Oh,
then
yeah, they have
showed
cameras
it,
everywhere.
And then they go, well, because of tradition and the way that the game's played. And I was like, okay, that works for me.
Yeah. Oh, no, that was
You know
enough
what
for
I'm
me.
saying?
Yeah, and
But the writing was so good because it answered those little questions where you're like, okay, come on, is this gonna...
Exactly,
And then
yep.
they did it and you're like, wow, great writing, okay. You
Same
really
thing.
filled everything up.
I felt the same way where I go walk away from a movie and be like, okay, that was good, but what about this small detail that would have ruined the entire movie? Like, there's so many times where movie makers will just be like, oh, people just won't ask it. Oh, they'll just forget about it. But that's exactly as I was thinking. And just taking that 5 minutes to show the butler going and shutting down and having the dad explain that's all tradition, that was enough for me,
It was.
And that made the movie that much more, it made it easier for me to get into the film. For sure, but
I totally agree with that.
but yeah, and I love the whole atmosphere of them because eventually he explains that they got to go do a game at midnight. They go down to some secret freaky fucking room. Obviously, only fucking people get sacrificed in this room.
It was pretty apparent when we walked in.
But
I
it's-
can't believe Grace didn't see that.
I know, and it's a room just full of death. I mean, animal heads,
Animal heads everywhere, carcasses, rugs. It was
but also a lot of
strange.
weapons.
A lot of weapons, a lot of medieval weapons.
Yeah.
A lot of guns. Yeah.
But
repertoire.
those end up coming back into play. But and that was another thing that I was thinking was like it was so smart because so much of the time in movies a bad guy will get killed and have a gun, and the main good person won't pick up the gun. That happens.
It happens all the
often.
time.
Like, you got a gun now.
Yeah, grab it.
In this one, it was smart because she saw the gun and she immediately thought, "Oh, I got to go back and get that gun. That's the only gun I saw. I got to go and get it." That part was very smart. Again, the writing was good. But
the writing was really good too because like we get that tense ass scene with the butler in the kitchen where she's hiding.
That was good.
And she loads the gun both times.
And that butler, my God, what's he getting out of this?
I don't know. He must be getting paid very handsomely.
Getting paid $30K
the 401k with his job has got to be incredible.
To be just blindly accepting it. And all the butlers were very dedicated.
They were all loyal, very loyal, all the way through death.
And I love the ongoing joke of the women housemaids or whatever constantly dying.
Yeah, that was funny.
It was funny, yeah. But yeah, so
and it was always Emily who killed him. She
I
shot
know,
the
that
one
was
in the
all
face.
good. That was
He
super.
shot the other girl through the throat.
That
Man, that was brutal too. But also dark comedy, funny, where she shoots her with the arrow and she's choking, she's gurgling, and Aunt Helen has enough of it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she just beheads her, so she shuts up.
That was a big thing of me, was them not shying away from blood or panning away from when something happened. Every time something happened, the camera stood on it. Someone got shot in the head, it went, and it all looked amazing. Practical blood, not an ounce of CGI blood in this baby.
And that was one of our worries because we talked about that. We were, well, hopefully they keep it realistic, have real blood, and it looked really good. I thought everything looked great.
So the dad, he explains that you got to pick this it's totally random. A long time ago, this guy on a boat, he gave us this box.
This black box.
Yeah, and Mr. LaBelle, and they love the box. And they all have to pass this box around. And again, the atmosphere is super cool because it seems super real. It's super creepy. It's this big wooden round table that they got all passed around. It just seems super, super real to me. But they passed around, and they're all, you could tell, or before they get the worry, or before we get a little sense that the game's random. So the fact that she picks the one game that's going to end up in her death is very unlikely.
It's very unlikely, and it hasn't happened in 30 years.
No. And it's like the other games are what, like chess, checkers.
It's all the games that they've created
badminton or something. Yeah, it's all super simple games that you want to
pick. Yeah, you just want to play a simple board game. Go home.
You don't want
make some love to your husband.
The one game you do not want is the game that you think would be the easiest, hide and seek. And I like how she even brings up. She's like, "Well, do I have to win?" He's like, "No, you just got to play. Just play the game. That's what the ritual is all about." But of course, she gets the bad card.
Yeah.
You know,
otherwise it'd be a pretty terrible movie. You just sit there for the next half an hour. They're just playing checkers. Be like, all right, I win.
It would be.
It would be a very short movie.
It.
Yeah, it would be.
But and we didn't talk about, but the family has been estranged. They all hate each other pretty much. Yeah. Alex hasn't come home in years, and so the mom at least is thankful to Grace for bringing Alex back to the home because that's his rightful place, and he's got to be the heir of the family.
Yep.
The Ladomas.
And man, I gotta say, Annie McDowell.
Oh,
lady,
she's amazing.
She looks incredible.
People know her from probably Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day
is
the most iconic one, for sure.
We're gonna know her from, and she's amazing in that. And she was amazing in this too. Just
she really was.
Cold-hearted bitch. And it was cool because half of the family is people that came from nothing. So you get that sense of where they're coming from.
Yeah.
You know how much they're willing to really sacrifice now that they're at the top. You know, we can't really tell what. We can't really say what we're willing to do because we've never really been
in that situation.
One of the richest family in the world.
All time, yeah. What would you do to hold that wealth?
I know,
that
exactly.
is the question.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And what have these real families done? Like the Bushes, and they're all secret society and all.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
so
unquestionably. I don't even want to know the Clintons either. God,
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Fuck,
the
man.
Clintons, the Bushes,
going to Pedophile Island and shit.
Yeah, the Kennedys, who are still all those people.
Yeah, the Kennedys as well. Yeah, Nixon. Oh, never mind. We know what happened there.
Well, we don't know where he came from. Nixon was actually he was a real guy. He just was, he wasn't rich starting out, but he got rich. Then he got poor. But yes, so she picks the card, and everyone is very somber, you could tell. And she's the only one. She's like, and it was kind of funny. She's like, oh, I could tell everyone's a little depressed.
Yeah, she's like, this isn't the worst game ever. She's like, I kind of liked it.
No one really wants to play with me, and everyone's just like, oh.
I know. I bet what was going through her mind. She's like, okay, everyone was so stoked to play a game, and then I draw this card, and everyone doesn't want to play. What's going on here? What kind of family is this? Can I do any right here?
But when she picks the card, it's interesting because Alex is the first one. He's like, we got to do it. It's like, let's fucking do it. We got to do it. And then he whispers something in Grace's ear. He said, meet me back. And she like didn't even hear it. Yeah. And she's like,
or in his room, I
she's
should
like,
say.
whatever. Because Grace just thinks it's going to be
It's hide and seek, and that's it.
So the game is she has to hide till dawn. And that's it. And she even asks, she's like, which is a horrible game. As soon as you told me that, like, I got to wait 8 hours.
Yeah, just till dawn. And she's like, no, I'm good. She goes, I'm not going to hide that long.
She pretty much does exactly what anyone would do.
Right. Well, she's just moseying along through the mansion. It's only 100 seconds. You know, she sits down. She takes her heels off. She's kind of just waltzing around.
We got to talk about the song they play. I fucking loved that creepy ass 1930s some
hide
weird
and seek song.
Hide and seek song where it's just like the most. It just sounds very typical of like a 1950s creep. It wouldn't be creepy at the time. But playing it in any other context, it is so creepy.
It's creepy as hell. Well, that's what I thought. And then the last time it played too was
very
super creepy.
well. I'm so glad they brought it back because that whole scene of because it's super cool because they put the record on a very old record that I think Mr. LaBelle even might have gave them. But
it looked a little warped.
It had been used a lot. But yeah, because during that scene when they're playing that creepy fucking the hide and go seek song, they're all gearing up. We get the montage of, and they give the old lady the
battle axe, which I gotta be honest,
I really didn't understand the weaponry situation for most of them, but it was hilarious.
It was hilarious
because it ended up coming out with a lot of comedic jokes got from them choosing their weapons or whatever, and it was a whole thing where. It's this weird thing where it's tradition, you know? People are so obsessed with tradition, but they're willing to pick and choose what traditions they really actually like.
And I love the big guy, Fitch Bradley is his name in the film. But, he's always watching tutorial videos on how to use a crossbow.
He was the funniest guy, and the entire time I could not get out of my head, he looks so much like Ortho from Beetlejuice. Did you?
Oh, okay.
I even pulled it. Did you not think
he
looks
so. Yeah,
identical
to him?
I thought if they ever did a remake, he would have to get a little heavier.
Yeah, he would have to be heavier.
He looks just fucking like him. I thought, man, I kept thinking it was him. He's
Christian Brun is his real name.
Yeah, he's like a Finnish actor. He's from Finland or something. But I thought he just the entire time and he's playing kind of the same exact character.
Yeah, he does look like him too, man.
Doesn't he? It's fucking weird.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the guy who played
right there.
The guy who played Ortho in Beetlejuice has passed away, so he could play him.
Yeah, he could.
But yeah,
he look like him.
He looks a lot, and he kind of acted like him too. He was just a rich moron. But yeah, he gets what's his name in the movie?
Fitch Bradley.
Fitch Bradley. Is that not the richest name you've?
It is. Fitch Bradley. It doesn't get much richer than that. Fitch the rich bitch.
I know. Wow. But yeah, I love that he got a crossbow, and he immediately was like, what the fuck?
He goes, I don't know how to use this.
Who does? I'd rather have the axe. Yeah. I know how to swing an axe. Trade?
I'll give you $20 under the table for it.
But that wasn't even the worst gun. I think the harpoon gun. What are they thinking giving the girl? Here's a harpoon gun, and it only works underwater.
Here's a cool little fact about the film too. That pepper box revolver wielded by Emily in the film has been the version of the gun weapon in the North American edition of the board game Clue since 1972. It was adopted by the European edition in 1996.
That's an Easter egg for sure.
It's definitely a nod to a board game, which
I'm
I
sure
cool.
there's probably a lot of Easter eggs that I wasn't catching that were not. I mean, because they're a board game family. They're like Milton Bradley's. So I mean,
well, that's literally what this is based off of. That's hilarious that you say that.
Oh yeah, well that's literally just the biggest gaming family. Right. But yeah, I mean that makes sense. I'm sure they got all kinds of dark shit they're doing. Milton Bradley. They also came up with the Ouija board. So you got
a little dark, so it makes even more sense, my friend.
Yeah,
it all makes sense. They tied this whole thing together.
Absolutely. You know, you can go buy a Ouija board at.
I'm gonna pass on that. I'm good. Man.
You can go buy a Ouija board at. You
can go buy it at like Walmart these days.
Yeah,
you can go buy a Ouija board.
Where I used to see them all the time was at
really
the toy store.
Yeah, Toys R Us.
Toys R Us. Yeah, that's where I
saw a Ouija board at Toys R Us too. I'm like, what? Man, we're living in weird times. Where it's just like, hey kids, you want to talk to spirits?
It's not. It's weird, but it's like you got to think like what was their motivation for coming out with a Ouija board?
No idea.
I mean, it almost seems like they had. I mean, that might have been where this whole idea came from.
It had to.
It might have been
because it's super. I mean, you think about
bizarre.
that, and it's dark. It's very dark.
And your parents always telling you, "Don't touch an Ouija board." Yeah. Oh, I can go find one. It's right next to Monopoly. How dark can it be?
Exactly. I mean, and you look at this company, the Milton Bradley company. They're making all these children board games for children, and then they come out with something as dark as a Ouija board.
It's chaos magic, man. It's chaos magic.
It is chaos
It's what
magic.
they all do.
If you want to learn about chaos magic, go look at the last podcast on the list.
Oh yeah, and chaos magic.
We talk about it all the time.
And literally the whole thing. And I mean, you can believe it or not, but chaos magic is the whole thing where it's like it has to be out and open. It can't be. It can't be a secret.
It can't be a secret.
The whole you get your energy and magic from people flocking to it, and like you get their energy from that. So it can't be a secret. That's the whole thing. But yeah, man, that's exactly what I was thinking the entire time, like Crowley and Aleister Crowley and stuff. That's what I was thinking. That's what it is. It's rich people, man. That's how they get rich. You gotta sacrifice something. Do. But yeah, eventually she goes and hides, and she hides or she tries to hide in the dumbwaiter eventually.
She does, yep.
And she tries to, but the dumbwaiter, it doesn't open, does it?
No, it opens. She's sitting in there, but she just got tired of sitting in there. Oh, yeah,
she sits in there for like 20 minutes. But at this time, we get Alex is talking to his mom, and she does. It's a very emotional thing because he's obviously loves Grace
a lot.
But the mom she says, "Oh, you will end up going with the family." She's like, "It may be as hard right now, but no matter what, it's in your blood. You'll end up going." It's a little foreshadowing to what we will get.
Well, we see that again, foreshadowing later when Alex is handcuffed.
Yes.
And Aunt Helen talks about him as well and how he's the true leader. And how Aunt Helen had to do the same thing where she had to kill her husband and it made her stronger in the family. And Alex has to do the same thing to fulfill that sort of prophecy.
And it does, and it deals with kind of a heavy thing of tradition, and going against tradition means going against your family. And even though tradition can be so stupid,
and it kind of had ties, in my personal opinion, to like religions like Mormonism or Scientology, where it was like if you're not 100% on board, then you're essentially kicked out of the family.
And not even kicked out of the family, but everyone. It's the thing where it's like, it's not just your family, where it's like, it's those religions where it's just that it's a community of just them. You're just a community of Mormonism or even like kind of like Islam can be like that, where if you go against Islam, you're completely out and you're shunned by everyone. And then you realize that you have absolutely nothing, no job or anything, because the people you were working with all also shared your religion. So you're fucked.
Yeah.
I thought
the
exact same thing watching this, because I thought that was kind of the overall theme is like, it's so tough to have to go against your family, but a lot of times, sometimes it's the right thing to do, but it's the hardest thing to do, for sure.
And we saw that throughout this whole thing where people, some characters are second guessing their family because they start to see it's generational, especially with Daniel. I think he really started to realize that.
But at the end of the day, it's hundreds of years of tradition, doing the exact same thing. And it's literally, it's ingrained in your DNA. It's like coded
from a very, very young age, too.
So to go against it is a tough thing to do. And not a lot of them do end up going against it.
No, they don't.
But eventually you got to get to that breaking point where it's like, you just can't do this anymore. We're like, I'd rather die than be with my family anymore.
How many people have to die?
But yeah, so she's hiding. She moves out of the dumbwaiter because she gets bored. She's going to go just find the family. And then she hears someone and she goes and hides again. And it's the fucking maid.
It is. And she's looking for the children because she heard Grace. She didn't know it was Grace in the hallway.
We got to mention there's children here.
There are children in the house.
Alex's sister, the cokehead, had brought children in. And these children, they're part of the family, so they know what's going to go on and everything. But
well, they're putting two and two together.
Yeah. Still pretty fucking freaky. I'd say leave the kids at home that night.
I would say that would be probably the smartest thing to do. I know, babysitter to stay in the room.
Yeah.
It's bound to go bad.
But
sure enough, it does. She wakes up
because one of the boys
is gone out of the bed. Yeah. So she goes and looks for him. She goes in the room, and Grace is hiding behind the bed because she's still playing the whole hide and seek game. She goes, "I know you're in here."
And they locked Alex in the.
Yes, in the Ladoma's gaming room.
In
or the basement
thing. The gaming room. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Because, and they had one of the maids look after him as well because they knew that he'd be trouble. But secret passageways, right? Rich people got him. I don't know. I don't know anything about him, but rich people got him. So they're going, and eventually Alex meets up with Grace because she's hiding. And Well, the maid, she sees the maid get her head
blown off.
Yeah. Unfortunately. And she's right about to scream, but Alex grabs her and tells her to shut the hell up because, she's next. And that's when she really gets a connection that this isn't hide and seek.
Well, because she's hiding behind the bed and they start saying, does she look like she's in a white wedding dress?
Yes,
you know,
I
and
know.
they're like, no, she's not. And of course it was Emily who shot
She's all
the...
coked
Yeah,
up and she's on Percocets. And she's also got a fucking flintlock.
The pepper box, the worst the worst handgun of all time.
It's got one shot, yeah. And it's just,
Takes an hour to reload. You got to use powder.
But I love, we'll kind of just glaze over it, but I love that whole aspect of her killing the maid and them trying to figure out what to do with her. And I love how the dad goes, she was my favorite. And then throughout even the Fitch Bradley, when they tell him that she died, he's like, oh, she was my favorite. Like, they all just love her.
Again, that ongoing joke that's really funny, but that's subtle humor that works.
But it's also a thing of like the rich people, like she was my favorite, like she was more of an item than she was an actual human being, like having a favorite car and like that. Because they weren't too upset about it.
No, they didn't seem. I mean, they weren't mourning. They didn't hold a funeral service.
They flipped heads and tails real quick to see who's getting the legs,
head and legs.
Who's getting and eventually they get rid of that body, drag her out. Alex explains kind of the whole thing of what's going on, and Grace is like, "How about we just leave?" And Alex is like, "I'm gonna try to do that, but the whole house is locked down because it's all electronical now.
Yes.
So the windows and everything are all, but no cameras or anything, but everything's locked. So she's stuck in the house essentially, but so she has to hide. She has to continue to hide, and eventually they're gonna find out that Alex is out of the room, but I think a red flag is playing hide and go seek, and you're being the only one has anyone
hiding?
ever played hide and go seek? Like,
Never
in the
never.
history. Isn't there usually the
normally
finder?
At least do duos, like 2 people are hiding, 2 people are seeking.
Well, if anything, I think it's one finder and everyone else hides. Isn't that more fun for everyone?
I think it would be funner, yeah, right? Or more fun.
Yeah, but so she red flag there when you're the only one. I mean, that's kind of, you have the disadvantage. Not only is it their house, but you got 9 people searching for you.
Yeah, it just seems really unfair.
Seems like they're kind of just, it's in their advantage. Obviously, they probably don't want to be looking for a sacrifice.
They want to get this done and over with and move on with life.
But so
because they even talk about that too. I mean, the father was like, "I got tea time at 8 a.m. We got to get this done."
Yeah,
that's how little they give a fuck
about it. He thought it was just gonna.
Yeah.
Well, but at first they thought they were just gonna be in playing a game. So then, then of course you don't think you're gonna get the
hide and seek
world
card?
champion hider and you gotta find her for. Man, I would have taken that seriously. I would have hid somewhere good. I would have went like the attic or something.
Yeah, I mean the dumbwaiter's not a bad one, but they open that and it's adios.
Yeah, and you probably only have one dumbwaiter though.
Yeah,
I mean they have probably 15 like closets and everything. You could hit somewhere, but yeah, and so she's freaking out, and within this time, 2 more maids are killed, which is
really funny. Well, and Grace actually killed the other one.
Yeah, she did.
With the dumbwaiter.
That was pretty funny when they were talking about...
Because she's like, they're not looking for you, they're looking for me. And she's like, oh, she's over here.
And she left her gun somewhere.
I know.
She just dropped it.
I know. I'm like, what?
There's kids running around.
No, it's a dangerous thing.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing, was like, I don't have a gun anymore. And it was pretty funny, because the whole dynamic between her and her dad, where she was like a daddy's girl, and he was just babying her, and he's... But eventually, old Fitch Bradley just says, take my crossbow. I don't even know how to run the fucking thing. And
shoots the maid right in the head.
0.2 seconds within holding the crossbow. Another maid comes in, and she says, she's like, oh, I know where she's at.
She's running in the courtyard.
She's running down the courtyard, and she gets shot in the fucking...
Doesn't last long.
No. But she lives. She lives through the arrow.
She does. She's gurgling on her own blood, choking. Probably would have a very slow death. And maybe Helen did the right thing. She cut her head right off.
I honestly would disagree with you.
Okay.
But
and I'd say that's fair.
I think Helen was just more upset she couldn't get a word out. But that was a funny... I mean, it's a common joke, but her not being able to talk, and every time she starts talking, she starts... But she would pause when there's no pause, but as soon as she starts talking, she does... But yeah, she gets her head chopped off, unfortunately. And again, they got to flip heads or tails to see who's got to drag the body down.
Who gets the shoulders and legs this time, though.
Yeah.
The head's separate. I think you might need 3 people, or you just put it, in between your armpit kind of thing.
And
carry it like a football.
But Grace gets out. She breaks a window and she jumps down. And I love that Grace. I love that
Fitch is always like in the toilet or in a room hiding, watching his phone, and she's always somehow like associated, like jumping out of the window.
Fitch Bradley, he would just wants to lay low until the actual
until it's
and
over.
then he'll come out and be like, "All right, we did it.
Got it. Good teamwork, everyone. Good teamwork.
But yeah, he's hanging low. He's looking at his phone, watching videos. But I love how they kept her in the wedding dress. Visually, it was very a cool thing to see. You
Very
know?
much so. And there were 17 different versions of Grace's wedding dress.
Oh, yeah.
Which were created by the costume designer. But to show the different stages of how she was feeling and how she was acting through the whole thing.
And I liked, and exactly. And we got it because you can kind of follow the dress. So, like, by the end, it's mostly blood and mostly mud.
Yeah.
And it's halfway cut up and everything. But at the very start, it's just pristine white. But as that baby progresses, a great wedding dress, honestly.
It was beautiful. It was an immaculate wedding dress.
It was, absolutely.
I mean, it was really nice.
But eventually, Grace, she goes and she gets trapped in the farmhouse, I guess, that they have. And she's hiding, looking for places, looking for more places. Or she's hiding, trying to leave. And she goes into the barn, I should say, not the farmhouse. But she goes into the barn and she's hiding. And then who's in the fucking barn?
That little kid.
The little shit kid.
Little
and I liked
ass.
This was one of my favorite scenes.
Yes.
Is because it showed, one, how dark the fucking family is, and how if you have these kids willing to kill people, now maybe is the time to stop this tradition.
Yes.
And we're like,
and it's generational too. And I really believe at that moment, I think Daniel looked at that and went, this isn't right.
Oh yeah.
This is not what I signed up for. Because you could see the internal conflict within him. And that's where I was like, and this is kind of where I saw the prediction with this movie, where I had a feeling and not spoiler because we're going to get right into it, but how Alex would inevitably turn and then Daniel would be the one to save her. I did see that because they were kind of foreshadowing that.
Yeah.
With obviously Aunt Helen talking about how he was going to be the new leader.
Oh yeah.
You know, I knew there had to be some sort of twist like that, but I wasn't mad that I kind of suspected that because, again, the writing was still so good that everything made sense.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't mind being able to see things like that every so often as long as the writing's good and the story is, you know.
Well, what surprised me was that Daniel was the older brother. And it surprised me that he was actually the one that hid, what's his name, Alex. At the start.
Oh, yes.
I thought it was going to be Alex being, the more mature and whatnot. And because they were very close in age.
Yeah.
But, I thought it was going to be in a reverse. But that even gives you more evidence of why Daniel's so fucked up. Because Daniel turns around. And remember, Daniel's the one that rats him out. Mm-hmm. So now Daniel has got a bit of a drinking problem. And they kind of gave up on Daniel being the head of the family.
They did.
They're like, okay, Alex, now you're the head of the family because Daniel.
And Emily,
he's a bottle
she's
deep.
a lost cause.
No, Emily's.
She's daddy's girl, and that's fine, but that's all she'll be because she is essentially.
She's a coke. And even when she comes into the house, she has coke.
Yeah, and Grace was like this. She's like,
I like it. That's a cool thing to do if you see someone coke and you're
just. And you're trying to be
it's a lot cooler than going, what's that white on your nose?
Did you just have a powdered donut?
Yeah. And you snorted
I hate
it.
when that happens.
But if you're gonna be cool, you got to give the note. You got to give, and then you know.
Just make it real cool, low key.
That's it. Parents
Finish
don't know
that
that
off.
shit.
You saving some for later?
But so she hides in the farm or in the barn, and she's thinking that he's a kid. He's not gonna do anything.
Yeah, and
he's probably scared, just as scared as I am.
Yeah, she lets her guard down, and she's like, "Oh, hey, are you okay out here?" You know, asking him like, "Is he okay?"
Yeah.
He pulls out the same old little
peppercorn.
Yeah. The pepper box gun, aims it, and fucking shoots her right in the hand.
Very real. I like the way they did that shot too, with her being deaf, and no one ever does that with guns. Mm-mm. Whenever you see a gunshot in like a car with like the windows down or something, that is gonna destroy your ears.
Hell yeah, it will.
But it happens all the time, and there's no sound or anything. But I liked how she went through that, and he big fucking hole in her hand. I thought was really cool too, really gory, and that's the first kind of injury that she gets. Yeah. But
and again, Samara Weaving, she steals the show, and her acting was so good in this, where she just seemed like super shocked.
But she just turns around and belts that kid.
I mean, what a great straight right hand. I was so impressed. I was like, there had to be a stunt choreographer who was like showing her like how to throw a fucking
But she just drops that fucking 10-year-old. And I don't want to condone child violence, but whenever an adult just tees off on a kid in a movie, when it's like the kid's being a dick, it always makes me laugh.
And to be fair, she was defending herself because he was trying to kill her. So I'm all for child getting punched in the face if he's trying to shoot you and kill you.
But the punch is the punch was just so fucking, it was pretty realistic, because it was
just
a hard thumb, and the kid goes down like a sack of potatoes.
Right in the haystack, too.
But, it's funny. Peanut
Yeah,
Butter.
because doesn't she call him a little bastard as she hits him?
Yeah. But Peanut Butter Falcon, which movie I saw right after, Shia LaBeouf punches a kid in that too.
Really?
This
Probably
goes
not the
off.
same circumstances.
It's pretty close where the kid deserved it.
Oh, okay. Well, then there we go.
It was in it. But every time you just see a grown adult punching a little kind of kid, it's funny, man. Because I mean, adults have the clear advantage, and when they're going just full 100%, it's unfair.
Yeah,
It's very unfair.
As long as they're not throwing combinations, that's where
No,
it
if
get a
you're
little absurd.
if she went on and like got a little ground and pound going on, got the full mount, she was just work. Honestly, this kid, I wouldn't feel that bad.
No.
Because you gotta think this
He kinda
rich
deserved it.
little kid, he's already spoiled. He's never been spanked.
He's already trying to kill people.
One
at 10
punch in the
years
head.
old. He's a sadistic fuck.
But yeah, she fucking KOs that kid, and he is out for damn near 25 minutes. It's a long knockout. He might have hit his head on the way down because that kid went down hard and did not wake up. Because even when Daniel and the sister come in the farm, they don't even the barn. They don't even realize he's laying to the
No,
right.
they don't.
He's just in there. But yeah, but she thinks someone hears the gunshot, which no one actually did hear the gunshot. But she ends up jumping down the fucking goat pit, which she ends up finding a bunch of.
Well, she didn't jump down. Didn't she fall down it?
Did she fall down or did she?
Yeah, because remember she's grabbing onto the ledge and then she fell off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she
Or
she
fell
went
through it,
she went
excuse me.
down at
Yeah,
least.
she
Yeah.
fell through it. Yeah,
She
and
was
then
trying not to
hit the bottom of it, and then dude, that was a creepy ass scene. All those dead bodies, just
I know.
decaying bodies. Imagine that. That is like literally from hell.
Imagine that, and you're seeing they're all wearing tuxes and wedding dresses. So you're like, oh my god, this is the fucking that's the goat pit. And only rich people have a pit dedicated
To goat
purely for their
sacrifices.
sacrificial goats.
Yes.
Because no regular man can afford.
No, I mean
deep,
that's you're
deep
yeah,
pit.
you're digging deep for that too.
But yeah, so it is a good scene, and it's a good scene of her climbing out of the barn also, because it's pretty. It's kind of a little torture porn we get here.
Oh man, and she is a tough woman.
She is.
Grace really wants to live. She is
Luckily
so tough,
that they even
man.
put a fucking ladder down the goat pit. Like I don't see what the reasoning would
Neither
be.
do I. I mean,
The ladder
I
hadn't
don't
been
think
used in
those-
80 years.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm
think those
guessing
people
originally it wasn't a pit dedicated
to dead
for
bodies.
sacrificial goats. But,
May have been something else.
yeah, it could have been used for anything. But yeah, she ends up crawling back out of it, and
And that nail scene though, when she reaches
she
the second
uses the
hand,
hole in her hand as like a hook, like a rope.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna throw a rope
and
around.
her screams, man, her screams were deafening. They kind of remind me a little bit of Tony Colletti's screams.
Yeah. Well, it went on very long. With something I always like about these things is a lot of times it'll be like a scream and there'll be a cut.
Yeah.
You know, but it was a long crawl, and the nail, and she had the nail in her hand for like 30 seconds as she pulled herself up. But yeah, man, that was brutal. And she eventually gets out though. She climbs out of the pit. The ladder collapses, but she manages to hook her hand in, and she eventually runs to the fence. Where we get.
And this is another brutal scene too, because she's trying to get through that fence and it's tearing at her skin, at her torso. And they did a really good job with that too, where it was like, oh, because it was a close up of it. And as she's going, her skin's tearing. And I'm like, oh my god.
It was very good, I know, and I know
was
I
tense,
just
too.
keep gushing about all those kind of scenes, but like it's just much more. It got me more into the movie because it wasn't a thing where she just couldn't fit. She could fit, but it was at great cost. That big fucking deep scratch. But again, that's like, it's a thing where in some movies they'll go up to a fence and there'll be like spikes at the fence, or even it'll be barbed wire. If you're getting chased down, I'm throwing myself
Same.
on that barbed wire.
Same.
I'll take the cuts.
Hell yeah.
But in
better than dying.
so many movies, they're like, barbed wire, we're out of it. I can't get cut. People are killing.
You keep running down this fence line. Hopefully it opens up.
But yeah, it was a thing where like she was gonna do whatever it took to get out of there, and you think as soon as she gets out, oh, she's safe. But some rich
You got
dicks in a
that
Bentley.
Stevens. Oh yeah, the Bentley scene. That was funny. She goes, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
It's because they're in a really rich neighborhood, so everyone there is just as entitled as everyone
don't
else.
care.
And I'm
They're like,
guessing,
get the hell out of the road.
and I'm guessing once you're in one of those really rich neighborhoods and everyone's having pedophile parties and everything, it's kind of just like stick to your own, and no one really talks about
really
because we're all
cares.
doing horrible things, so
all
everyone kind of
shitty
knows.
people.
Yeah. So you see a
Everyone
naked.
probably sacrificed.
So you see a
the
naked
same,
girl
you
running
know.
around half naked in a fucking middle of the night. You just keep on going,
On
baby.
going. It
That's
doesn't matter if
rich
she's got
people
blood
shit,
all
yeah.
over her wedding
They'll
dress.
clean
Why
it
is
up.
she in a wedding
They'll
dress?
clean it up.
They
Yeah,
don't care.
they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just keep going. And oh, and we didn't even talk about the gun scene. Talk about the gun scene in the kitchen with the
Oh yeah,
butler
with
and
Stevens,
everything.
yeah, the butler. But anyway, yeah. So both times Stevens is singing in the kitchen, and she's trying to load the musket that she's got, or the the shotgun, either one.
I laughed so hard when she pulled the bullet out because it's a bullet. That's a bullet to take down elephants.
Yeah, it is. It's a giant. It's a giant.
It's
bullet.
what? Yeah, it's
And at this time, Alex was in the camera room because he was trying to unlock the doors for her. Right.
Yeah.
And so both times she's loading it, and they're big ass.
It's a bullet, and when she sees it, she's like, "Is this what regular? It's not what regular bullet.
No, it's not.
It's a
you
which
shoot
is a
Stevens
slug.
in the head with that. His head is no more. It's
no,
gone.
you shoot him in the torso. It's gonna be blown in half.
Yes.
That's like a 50 cal in 1950.
For sure.
But yeah, I laughed so hard when she took out the bullet. And it was just this. It was literally like something you would hunt a T-Rex with.
Yeah.
It's so. But yeah, she was gonna blow that guy in fucking two.
And she pulled the trigger too, but we come to find out that it was prop ammunition.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like that a lot because it does make sense. Why would you
Yeah,
just
you're not
have
gonna have a loaded
ammunition on
gun,
the
no.
on the wall? It makes no sense. So
Exactly, yeah.
again, that was really good writing because I actually did not see that coming. That was one of those where I was like, oh, that
Especially
makes
a gun
sense.
from 1890.
Right.
You're not gonna keep that baby up and running.
Yeah,
You're
why
gonna
would you have
take-
ammunition around anyway? And the maintenance on it, you got to make sure the black powder's still good.
Oh, black powder gets wet and it's ruined.
Yeah.
And so there's really nothing. Yeah, you can't ever keep ammunition like up. But yeah, I like that too because the whole time I'm thinking, man, if she gets this gun, she's gonna run off. She's gonna go ham on this house.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking we were gonna get the shot. If she was gonna shoot the gun and she was gonna get blown back about 30 feet because that's what that
That's a
gun.
powerful
Would,
ass
that's what
gun.
that gun would have done to you. It would have fucking destroyed your shoulder. But yeah, she doesn't get out of the kitchen though. It's
No.
tense and every time I liked how tense it was. Where every time she loaded the gun, it made that clicking. He kind of because again it was more realistic where the guns aren't silent, especially those guns.
I know, no kidding.
But yeah, the gun doesn't work, so she ends up just throwing the gun and the belt at him, and
So that's basically Stevens. But now we'll go back to the car scene.
Yeah.
So now she's running away, and he already promised the father that he was going to find her.
and
So
he's
out there with
pumped.
his flat. Yeah, he's
Well, not even that,
he
but
loves this.
he's two-faced now because she ended up throwing
She
a
threw
hot
out
pot of
boiling
water
yeah.
on his face.
The
So
tea
now
water.
but he's the most dedicated of the whole goddamn family.
was.
He's not even part
He's
of the
like a
family.
soldier, man.
The kids you couldn't get to kill anyone. I mean, the rest of the family you can't get to do anything. Half of them are drunk and high. But this butler, man, and I loved he was playing the tunes and everything. He was jamming out.
You know what? It is so important to find good help these days.
It really is, and it's hard.
It's very hard.
And it's hard to find people that are willing to help you sacrifice people.
And kill people.
It's-
It's really a dedicated person that you have to appreciate.
You just don't get that nowadays.
You don't. It's
You
just
don't.
not the same.
No.
These millennials don't know how to work.
And to be fair, that guy's probably been in like a butler family where like they've been the same butler for that
Like
family.
Alfred and Batman.
Exactly,
Kind of
yeah.
thing, where
So
it's just,
so it could be very possible he's just so used to it where it's just like second nature to him. But yeah, she gets out, she runs through the woods, and Stevens, he's not even worried about it. The family's freaking out at this point because they're like, if she's gone, because they know she's gone out of the house.
Yes.
So if she's gone, because we haven't talked about it, but there's drastic consequences of this family not sacrificing this girl.
And what they keep saying is that if they do not kill her by dawn, then they'll all die.
Yes, something very, very bad. But
Will
it's
happen to the family.
it's a thing where
Because-
they don't know for sure.
No, and they don't. And they foreshadowed that the last time this had happened and they didn't kill him by dawn, that everyone in the family burned in the house.
Yeah.
Burned down the house.
Which could have been a house
Could have been a house
fire.
fire.
And they also talk about how he's like, yeah, my uncle went and got married and he died immediately. And it's a thing where it's like, okay,
And
your
it
uncle
could.
just might have died.
Yeah. And again, really
It's not enough to kill people.
No, it's not. And again, really good writing with the whole fire thing too, because we saw that later on how, the fire, the little lamp thing gets tipped over and we start to see fire and we go, oh, maybe it is all bullshit.
Exactly, and I love that. I liked how they did that a lot.
kept making
Towards
us
the
go
end, you're
back
like,
and
this
forth.
is just bullshit. These are just
They're
dumb,
just crazy
rich
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just dumb people. Really, I mean, we assume this. It's so weird because it's actually an older generation thing, but it's like if people have money, a lot of people would just assume they're geniuses.
Mm-hmm.
But really, you just have to be born into money.
Yeah, if you're born into money, it's a different scenario.
But at least with my parents and stuff, where they used to like see like rich people and be like, oh my God, that guy, he must be just on another level of us regular people. Really, it's
his IQ must be like
through the roof. And it goes the same way where it's like poor people just must be idiots. They're just there's so much money and but really it's just rich people are doing everything to keep poor people poor. I mean, it's hard to get out of poverty. But yeah, it's the whole thing where it's like assuming because they're rich that they have brains. It's not the case. Because at the start of this, they were all nonchalant about it. They're like, yeah, we'll kill her. We get done with it. They had no idea. They had zero expectations that she was going to be smarter than a plank of wood.
She's crafty, too.
Oh, yeah. They thought because she wasn't rich, she couldn't have been smart. But joke's on them, fellas.
It is. So long story short, Stevens eventually finds her.
Yep.
Right, and he shoots her with the tranquilizer gun.
Because they can't kill her.
No.
They only have to wound her.
Because they have to sacrifice.
They make that clear too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so he's driving back, and
he's jamming. He's thinking he made a big win. He's playing the music.
And I like how he's FaceTiming the family, and they're driving,
and they're all like, "You Stevens, you fucking
we're gonna party tonight. We can't wait to sacrifice this girl to Satan."
He's playing classical music, and he's just having
a ball
time. It's hilarious. But
and then Grace wakes up, so really not a good tranquilizer. I mean, I would have shot her 2 times for good measure.
We don't want to drink her too long. Her heart's gonna stop. That's the problem with tranquilizers. She woke
up pretty fast. And,
she did. Well, I don't think but again, maybe that's just the fight she
maybe
had.
Maybe it ran through its shelf life, though. Tranquilizer, I mean, 30 years on the shelf.
That's true, 30 years. He probably hasn't used it in a while.
Yep.
But yeah, he tranks her. He's jamming out. The whole family's like, we're going to fucking do it. Because at this point, they're all like, well, we didn't even mention that Grace. Oh, it's not till later. Okay, we won't mention. But yeah, they're jamming out, and eventually Grace wakes up, and she fucking clobbers old Stevens, and they get in a very cool, well done car wreck. Man, it was awesome how they did the shot from inside the car of it slow mo and her spinning around.
Yeah,
very cool, very well done. And
my only thing, this was my only gripe, my real gripe about the film was how in the hell did Daniel and the dad get there so fast? Because it seemed like they rolled, and then she was getting out of the car, and boom, there was Daniel. And he was like, oh, I'm trying to get away from this, and here you are.
But the thing is,
the dad was just right
because
there.
right before because I'm guessing, because they're all going around, and right before Steven says, we're almost towards the back gate. So they know exactly where
so they know
they're
where
at.
It was.
Because he says,
maybe I missed that.
He does. He says, he's like, I'm right. Or he says something along those lines. He's like, I'm 2 minutes out from the back gate. And they're all like, all right, perfect. So they know immediately where to go. So I'm guessing as soon as they saw the car start something, because remember, it shows the family, because the family's still watching, and they're like, ugh.
No! They're fucking flipping
they're just like, ugh, because they have to watch the whole thing, and they're like, oh, God, no.
Stevens is definitely...
Because that was hilarious, because they're watching it, and they could see her in the background, but Steven's so fucking pumped, he's playing music, they can't hear it, and they're all yelling
at him to turn around.
And then at the very end, they're like, oh, Stevens, no, Stevens. But I'm guessing Daniel, as soon as he saw the car wreck, he took off and started running towards the... Because that's what happens. She gets out of the woods. She starts crawling a little bit. Still very fucked up at this point. Bad back, bad arm. Just got in a car wreck.
And you think Daniel will save her again at this point? Because to go back to the courtyard scene, remember, like, he came in, he was like, I'm just getting a drink.
Yeah.
And then he ends up giving her a 20-second head start. Lets her leave.
Yeah, there's so many scenes that we kind of just have to jump over those small scenes. But those small scenes were kind of the best scenes out of that. That scene with... the whole family kind of battling their own battles, and Daniel, because even in the woods when Daniel meets her, we see that he's fighting it.
He's conflicted even in the woods.
Because his whole life, his parents have told him what he is. You're a Lemoy or whatever they are, and it's like, you got to do this, you got to kill, you got to do. So it's been ingrained in him, and you see, because she kind of convinces, she's like, no, Daniel, you are a good person, you're better than this, and he goes, no, I'm not.
But you know why
he's battling
hit her, right?
it. Huh?
He hit her and knocked her out, but he saw his father because he goes, I'm not blind.
Yeah.
I saw you.
Oh,
there.
Yeah.
So that's why he knocked her out, because we get to the scene later on.
Yeah.
And so obviously Grace wakes up. She's on the altar.
Yeah.
She's got the pentagram and all.
And before this, we got to mention Alex. He destroyed, because he couldn't figure out how to open the doors or anything. So he doesn't eventually figure out the doors, but he destroys all the cameras and everything, so they can't relock it or anything.
Yeah.
But I only bring this up because it's probably the best acting, or my favorite scene of the whole movie is when Alex is choking his dad. He's gonna kill him.
That's right.
We didn't even talk about that.
Yeah,
scene
that was a pretty
powerful.
Pretty intense scene.
Because he's gonna kill him, and he only to the last second, because it's family. Fucking family. It's just Family's gonna kill you.
Old
Family's
expression,
gonna
blood
get
is
you.
thicker than water.
That's
syrup
so-
is thicker than blood.
God, that's so true. And any family could guilt you into doing anything by saying that. But yeah, and he almost kills him. He almost kills the dad because he's just so ashamed of what they are and everything. But he ends up not because it's fucking family. Even when your family are assholes, you still struggle with choking them to death.
Definitely. And choking someone to death, I've heard, is not an easy
extremely
task.
difficult.
It's very
It takes
hard.
a long-
It's much harder than films interpret.
Yeah. We'll just ask Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, didn't he try twice? Or someone else tried
He
twice?
choked himself to death.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, that ex-cop that was in his cell.
Yeah.
Did you see that guy jacked to the tits? You're trying to tell me... yeah, that whole thing's...
Well, no, they took that guy out before he died.
No, but the first time he was attacked by that guy. The first time they said he was on.
But that guy was there. Yeah, that guy was there specifically to make sure he doesn't kill himself. That's the whole reason they had a cellmate in him. And they took an ex-cop.
No, but he was the cellmate the first time.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, I know. But that was the whole reason, was to keep that cellmate in there so he doesn't kill himself. But
And then they took him out a few hours later.
yeah, they should have never took. They should.
Of course, all the guards are asleep, and it's just
the cameras don't work.
the most highest profile fucking villain on this planet right now.
Yeah, we're
An evil
the
piece
most
of shit,
notorious
and no one
sex
guards him
trafficker. Yeah.
in the most fucking well secure prison in the country. The fucking modern day Alcatraz. Don't get me going.
I know we shouldn't get into it because
And I'm not going to get into
it's not even-
conspiracy. It's just it's
But the
terrible
thing is, you don't like.
character.
I'm not. I mean, I love reading about conspiracies, but
So
you
do
do
I.
not need to be a conspiracy theorist to
I
think
don't got
something's
time. Yeah.
fishy on
Fishy about that, yeah.
You don't need to be a
I'm-
Alex Jones type to be
No,
like,
no,
this
no.
doesn't seem right
And
to
I'm
me.
listening to like reputable like radio shows and podcasts who never jump into conspiracy, and even
Yeah.
those people are like,
Well, it even
okay,
like ABC
there's too many
and everywhere.
coincidences here. There's too many. The cell person leaves, this and that. We'll get into Epstein later. This is not an Epstein podcast.
Well,
Fuck
it's
that guy.
kind of related because
It
it's
is.
the same thing where it's these rich people that can pretty much get away with anything, and they have
Yeah.
so many connections. They even have connections to the devil, which he's the one of the top guys I hear.
I heard he's like the most
He's
evil
like
around.
1 and 2. I think he's
Him and the anti guy,
Yeah,
the
he's-
antichrist. Those are the two.
Yeah, but yeah. So eventually, though, you're right. She does end up. They end up getting, and it's not looking good for Grace.
No.
She's on the table. It's sacrifice time.
She's done.
They're doing some wacky chants that you don't want to
They're
hear
drinking
anyone
this
doing.
wine. They've all got hoods
It's probably blood.
over.
Yeah,
It's definitely blood.
a big knife they got going. Alex, they end up having to chain into the bedroom because he's a loose cannon now. You got to keep this kid.
Things
And,
are not looking on the up and up for Grace.
But I liked. We didn't even talk about that scene when he's choking his dad out. The dad ends up knocking him out. Remember, that was a big
Yeah,
scene too.
it was.
But the dad knows. The dad knows more than anyone what's at stake. No one, everyone else seems to kind of be.
In the dark a little bit?
Yeah, because they're all kids when it last happened, and they've never seen the actual evidence of what happens if. But the dad is real fucking worried about it. But yeah, eventually though, Grace does get out of being trapped or being sacrificed because Daniel's son comes up clutch, poisoning.
Daniel's son. That's a good throwback to
Yes,
the
sir.
Karate Kid. Thank you.
But he ends up poisoning the wine.
Yeah.
And they end up throwing. I thought they're all dead. at
So
this
did I. I thought he killed them all. I'm like, wow, that was badass. And then it was just it was a minor thing.
Again, he could not bring himself to end up actually killing his family.
No, he couldn't. But it was really funny because he's like, yeah, they're not going to be dead, but they're going to shit blood for weeks or whatever, or shit blood for a couple
it looked
days.
pretty
Yeah,
brutal.
it did. Yeah.
It looked like they were throwing up blood, but it might have been just the red wine. But yeah, eventually though he goes and it's a scene where Daniel and Grace are talking one last time, and she's telling Daniel that he's actually is a good person and whatnot and all this, and Daniel's fucking wife, who's a lot meaner than Daniel actually was.
Yeah, she's cold-hearted bitch.
Yeah, she was the most like the mom. Where the mom you saw got into that. She came from nowhere and she got into that headspace of like, this is how it's got to be now. But the mom gets hers
She does.
in a brutal,
In a really
fucking-
brutal way. And
So,
also a well-deserved way, too.
So Daniel ends up getting shot in the throat. It's a brutal death.
He's done, though.
Yeah, you're not bouncing back. I don't care how much money.
Even
you
in
got.
his dying breath, he looked at Grace, in a very dramatic moment. He goes, go.
Oh yeah, And we
Still a
talking
good
about
guy
but
at heart.
Daniel, who's played by Adam Brody.
Adam
He's in
Brody,
a
which is
ton of stuff. Yeah.
wasn't he in like the OC and stuff?
Oh yes, sir, he was.
Yep.
That's what I
That's what
immediately
he's
know.
very well known
Even though
for.
I don't know, I'd never.
I
saw
never
those.
watched that show, but I remember how big it was back in the day. Everyone watched that when I was a kid.
And his, probably his most recent thing is he was in Shazam.
Oh, that's
he plays grown up.
Duh.
What's his name?
Yeah, that's right.
His foster brother. He's the Shazam version of the crippled
Yep.
kid. Good for Adam Brody.
Yeah,
I like.
awesome.
He's very likable.
Yeah, he definitely is.
But yeah, so he ends up getting shot in the throat. It's sad. But she ends up knocking out Daniel's wife,
Mhm.
and then she ends up trying to leave again, and she runs into. Does she run into Alex here? I can't remember. Oh, Alex goes and tries to comfort Daniel as he's dying, unfortunately. But yeah, so Daniel dies, and eventually him and Alex, and at this point, Alex.
No, because well, yeah.
No, go ahead. No, go
Well,
ahead.
because Grace is now in confrontation with the mother,
Yes.
and then she
Oh, we
takes
forgot
the
about that,
black
yeah.
box that the hide and
Mr.
seek
LaBelle
card
gave
came
him.
from.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she smashes the mother's face in. And as she's doing that, as the mother's already dead, guess who comes in?
Alex.
Alex.
Yeah.
And this is where we kind of get that big dramatic moment where he's talking to her, he's trying to comfort her, and then he asks her a very significant question. He goes, "You're not going to stay with me, are you?"
Yeah.
And she just, no, you fucking idiot. I mean, why would I stay with you? You're trying to kill me.
Yeah.
Your whole family's fucking crazy.
Like
I'm not gonna stay with you.
as I've been running, I've been typing up our divorce papers. Like we're not.
Like, I want a divorce. Like, there's no ands, ifs, or buts here.
Yeah.
But she looks at him. She lets him know. No.
And it was the whole thing where you never saw that twist coming of. I mean, you always thought, okay, Alex could definitely end up being into this, but the whole time, which we didn't really get into because it's hard to explain verbally, but the whole time you're seeing him battle with it, going back and forth, and by the time he sees his mom died, and because he's not going to get anything out of, now he's getting nothing. He can't be with her, and he won't be rich anymore.
Yeah.
Or
So
he
he's
might
got to
be-
choose now.
Yeah.
He's got a choice.
Yeah, where before at least he was going to be able to stay with Grace. Now he's got nothing. But you could see it's not an easy decision for him, where they could have definitely made him very one-sided and very predictable. But you see tears. He's holding back tears. His brother just died. His mom's head's caved in because Grace... And it's a very good scene because it's finally Grace's unleashing all the... And she says, "Fuck your family."
Yeah,
She
and I was
smashes
wondering,
that.
because we saw that in the trailer, but we didn't know who she was smashing.
No, we didn't.
And I didn't even know up until the very point where it happened. I go,
Yeah.
oh, that's where.
Yeah,
That's who she
it was pretty cool, and it's very subliminal with her killing her with the whole thing that made her what she is this box that made you rich. And now you're getting.
Killed
I'm
by
sure
it.
Mr.
It's almost poetic.
I'm sure Mr. LaBelle's sitting back and like, this is wild. This is the best thing ever.
He's like, I love it.
This is
I'm
why
I'm
I
a
do
ghost.
this.
I'm a force ghost. I'm just sitting around watching
kidding
this.
me? This
death
is
and
entertainment.
destruction. Yeah.
This is entertainment. You're seeing this rich people. Oh man.
It's like, really, hell ain't a bad place to be.
No, not when you're watching this bullshit. There's worse places to be, and it's in this fucking family. But yeah. So Alex breaks down, and because he's not gonna get anything out of this, and
He grabs her.
he grabs her, and it's not just talking about it. It's a scene that you think it's almost predictable, but it's pretty emotional when it happens.
Yeah, it is.
It's because they actually did love each other.
Yeah, they did. They had a great relationship.
In
the
my
beginning.
mind, I was thinking, okay, maybe Grace is bad. I was thinking, okay, maybe Alex is bad. But really, they were just normal people put into a tough situation.
Yes.
And but he ends up going with the family.
Yep.
Because you got to think those kids are going to die or something bad's going to happen to this family, I guess. But eventually they go and they're not even going to do the sacrifice. They say, fuck tradition. We got to kill this bitch on the
Now.
quick.
Dawn is a coming. The
Yeah, we
sun
gotta-
is coming up.
We got to get it going quick. She's at the table. At this point, she's just not a whole lot of person left in her. She's looking pretty glazed over. Somehow she has more fight left in her.
No kidding. She ends up breaking away.
She's a breaking away. Again, Alex gets his hand stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
She ends up breaking away, getting back. And this again was one of my
Well, yeah,
favorite
because
scenes.
Alex, that was a creepy ass scene too, where they kept saying "Hail Satan, Hail Satan," and Alex was the one who was
He's
going
gonna
to
kill her. Yeah.
which was the prophecy of Aunt Helen saying that he would be the leader of the house. And that prophecy came true. And he comes down, and Grace just barely moves out of the way. She gets stabbed in the shoulder. That's not good.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
she got
Another
stabbed in the
wound.
shoulder. I know, man. This is a tough.
She's gonna be
woman.
bleeding out by now.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of blood loss.
Hand loss,
a little
shoulder.
woozy at this point.
Yeah, not going to be donating blood anytime soon. And then Alex gets stabbed in the hand. But this was a great scene, a great sequence too, because she ends up getting up off the table.
And I loved how they ended up doing it like this. I love that they ended up letting the sun come up instead of, because they could have definitely went around where it's just Grace ended up killing them all one by one. At the very end, it's just Alex left. But then we wouldn't get that. We wouldn't get that answer. What would have happened? What would have really happened?
Or the satisfaction of knowing too, because like the whole time, and I was like, and this is where like the ending just really just fucking solidified how good this movie was, because again, we kept asking that question the entire time: is this real or is this fake? Is this family delusional?
Yeah.
Or is this a real satanic ritual that takes place? Will they actually die? And when it was dawn, and everyone kind of just sits around the room, and they're like,
yeah,
nothing's happening. I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious.
The payoff was
it's not real. I was like, what are they gonna do now?
But my favorite thing was
Grace
like they
is
were
still like hyperventilating in the corner.
My favorite thing, they're just like, oh shit, well, that sucks, but we just gotta keep. Like the whole thing, they're like, well, I mean, it's brutal, but we just gotta keep going.
We just gotta go, and then
and Grace is just in a fucking coma. But they're all like, man, that's wild. They're like, that's wild stuff. They're like, not
crazy.
that crazy.
Okay. And then they're like, well, what do we do with her? And Aunt Helen decides to break the game's rules.
Yeah, because Aunt Helen, because we ended up finding Aunt Helen was the lady at the start
that killed her husband.
So the fact that she killed her husband for nothing makes her look bad.
It doesn't make her look good.
So she still thinks the devil's gonna come. So she's like, well, we still got to do this. I can't be a murderer. I mean, I'm not a bad
But
person.
she went against the game's rules too, because it had to be by dawn. Dawn had already showed up, so she broke the rules.
Yeah, and she did it kind of because she was just a bitch.
Yeah.
And like, you don't. Obviously, the rules are over. Why would you need to kill her, Helen? It's over.
It's over.
But you got to get rid of her, obviously. I mean, you got to throw her in the goat pit eventually. But
And so Helen goes to axe her to pieces, and what happens, Cash?
She fucking evaporates, explodes.
Blood's everywhere.
That maybe was the funniest part.
It was hilarious.
It ended up being like a reverse, where the whole time I'm thinking, there's no way that the devil actually exists in this world. Yeah.
No way.
But in this world, the devil's 100%, and he's 100% making deals with people.
Yeah, he's powerful as hell.
He's powerful as hell, and he can kill you immediately.
And he does.
He does.
So
and they
brilliant.
just blow up. And like what? Like, and it's so funny because he's the devil. He's not even worried about like the mess it will
No,
make. He's like
not.
people
He's like,
exploding. Go figure it out.
What are they gonna do? Pin me for this crime? I'm the devil. Of course I did this crime.
So yeah, so the she explodes and it gets pretty funny and pretty whack. But I'm so glad that they felt like they could do this, where they felt like they didn't have to be serious, and felt like they were just having fun with it.
It was fun.
That's what I would want to do with a gory movie. Like let's go all out at the fuck. Let's go all out during the entire thing. The very end, so they all start exploding.
Yep, they all explode. They're
dead. Popping like fucking balloons, and I love how. The sister, I still don't remember her name,
Emily.
with her kids. Oh, Emily. Yeah. She's like, oh, we gotta get out of here. And then we get the 3 pops off camera. Pop, pop, pop. And the blood just
I love how the kids all fucking exploded too. They deserve it, those little bastards.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then we see...
well, first we get the dad, and the dad is mad because
That's
he's played by the rules for so long. So he's like, I played. He's like, you got to let me go. But the devil's like, rules are rules, bitch.
Bitch, yeah. Adios.
Like, there's a lot more rich families I can go click a deal with than you. So devil doesn't need you. You need the devil. Exactly. That's the thing. So he explodes, and then Alex, he just becomes a real pussy towards
the end. He does. What a little bitch. He's like, oh, take me back, babe. Take me back.
It's not real. It's not real. Yeah.
You're insane.
Yeah, and I loved how she was pissed. I mean,
she goes, takes her ring off. She's like, I want a divorce.
Yeah.
And then as she does this, boom, she explodes right in his face.
I love at the very end, we get Force Ghost Satan, and he gives a little nod.
Give a little nod. Mr. LaBelle, he's like,
Mr. LaBelle,
work,
and he's still in his fucking 1890s
safari outfit or whatever the fuck it is.
His riverboat gambler outfit.
Yeah. And I like how Grace was kind of like, oh, he was.
Yeah, she's like, hey, let's just do it. Yeah.
And then we see her walk out of the mansion, and I love this at the end. She lights up a cigarette. The whole house is going to flames. And the paramedic walks up to her. She goes, what happened? She goes, in-laws.
Yep.
And that's it. That's the end of the film.
Well, it's amazing. And it never got into this, but my mind immediately went to, okay, the house is going to completely burn down. All evidence of them, because they're mush, is going to go away. And then she's going to be left with the fortune.
With the billionaire. Yeah, with all the money.
With no curse or anything.
No, because she said she wanted a divorce, but obviously they didn't sign papers. So she gets all the money.
Even if she wanted a divorce, she'd still get a shit ton of money with the divorce, but now she's the yeah. So I loved how it ended up just all clicking together and working out, and it didn't do a scene where it ended up like 2 months later and she's up rich or anything. We just kind of had to work that out together, but. Yeah, man. I mean, altogether, not a horrible wedding night.
No, not a terrible. I mean, you just inherited.
You probably just
made
$1 billion in it.
You had to go through some shit.
It was the hardest work you're ever gonna do.
Yeah, it's a hard 24 hours, but afterwards, it's all worth it as long as you make it through.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you're
kind of like
and you got no curse.
No curse at all.
It's free money.
Curse free.
It's free
anything,
money.
The devil just gave you a little nod, so you're doing all right.
LaBelle might even be on your back now.
Could be.
But yeah, I love that. I love the whole LaBelle thing, and I love that they ended up being real. That it's a real fucking curse, and they ended up having to actually kill these people.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, crazy.
So we should give our reviews on this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead. I'll let you go first.
Like I said, I think this is probably the most fun I've had at the theater. Where it's kind of been up and down with movies that have been released, but this is if you're gonna go and see a movie, and if any movie deserves you to go see, it's this one. I mean, it made on $6 million. This movie needs to make. It's gonna make its money back for sure, but it deserves to make a lot more money than that because it's a wonderful movie. Honestly, it's good. It's dark. It's funny. It's witty. It's made by Walt Disney, so you know it's gonna be. Speaking of deals with the devil,
yeah.
is there any more powerful magical entity than the Disney Corporation?
Don't think so.
But yeah, I loved it, Mason. I'd say I'll go back and watch it again. I gave it an A-.
Wow, that's a really good score, man.
It's a great score.
Yeah, it is. A well-deserved score. For me, a lot of times with movies that are this well done, I feel like sometimes, especially with like a movie like this, a dark comedy, kind of like murder movie, you can have a tendency to go over the mark where it's like an hour and 55 minutes and it's like 25 minutes of material that we didn't even need to see. This movie was short, condensed, to the point, a tight 95 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
From start to finish. The writing was just impeccably good. The storyline was so entertaining. This is an overall just fun movie. Absolutely. Like, I will recommend this movie to anyone who just wants to go out, have a fun movie night, and just be entertained and have laughs. Have jump moments, like just everything about this movie struck just brilliant.
It's creepy too. It's
it
got
is.
horror elements for sure. There's some scary. I mean, the scariest scene is that these rich people could end up hunting you one day. I mean, the whole reality of that actually happening. But
yeah, and I just thought this was a beautifully put together film, and I really believe this is going to be Samara Weaving's outbreak role because she is such a great actress. She really she stole this whole show. I mean, she was obviously the lead. But man, without her,
and Drop Dead, something about Australian women that look like Margot Robbie.
Yeah, yeah, she's very beautiful.
She's drop dead gorgeous in this for sure. But give me your review. What's your rating?
I really can't find fault with this movie, and I know I typically go a little bit higher than you with grading. But I have to. I have to give this an A. For me, I could not find anything where I wasn't bored for even like 1 minute of this movie.
No, this movie.
It was fucking awesome.
It felt shorter than it was because it was just so much fun. You kind of didn't really want it to end.
And every character was so well fleshed out. Mm-hmm. You really saw where each person. You only have 95 minutes to do that with all these characters.
Oh yeah.
It was really an awesome thing. So for me, it's an A. A solid A.
Yeah, it was. I loved it. And again, I think the worst thing is this movie should have came out in fucking September, October.
Yeah, totally.
It's a great Halloween film.
It is.
Look at the next film she's in. She's in that movie Guns Akimbo.
with Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah,
I can't wait for that.
And she's also in the next Bill and Ted.
Ooh, okay.
That's awesome to see.
Bill and Ted face the music.
So she's doing some things.
Oh yeah, for sure.
She's doing some things.
She's going to be working for the rest of her life because she is extremely talented, in my opinion.
And she's
beautiful.
She's great, man. She plays a great badass.
She does.
She plays that kind of character where you would never think of her as a badass. Just seeing her, you'd be like, oh man. But exactly what this family did too. They underestimated her. Never underestimate a woman on her wedding day.
Never.
They will move mountains.
Well,
we loved it.
Yeah, we did, definitely. So that is our full review of Ready or Not. Let us know what you guys thought. You guys can find us on YouTube. Type in "Have you seen it? Have you seen it?" podcast. Go to channel. We are the first one there. We're the angry popcorn in the director's chair. Be sure to like our video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your comments on our YouTube channel. We're constantly interacting. We want to know what you guys think. We have trailer reactions and stuff on there as well. Our audio format podcast you can find on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher. We are everywhere you can find podcasts, guys. We have social media, Twitter, Seen It Podcast. Cash is on Twitter, that's just Cash. Instagram, that's just Cash, excuse me. Instagram, Have You Seen It? Facebook, we have a Facebook page, Have You Seen It Podcast. Be sure to find that. We post daily memes. We post a lot of hilarious stuff on Facebook.
So much funny stuff.
It's really great. My name is Mason Knight. That is Cash Krause, and until next time.
Bye.